Okay, so before the story, I want to give background. Our dad is a Pacific Islander, and our mom is just white. My sister, young teen, and I, nearly adult female, were both born in the U.S. Our parents divorced when I was starting grammar school, I think. However, I continued to live with my dad until I was a tween, whereas my sister stayed with my mom. I live with my mom now because my dad wanted to return to the islands, but I didn't want to leave my friends. However, I know many of my family who still live on the islands and keep in touch with my roots. This is primarily thanks to my dad. My sister doesn't. Okay, so on to the story. About 4 months ago, my sister was diagnosed with cancer. She's had to go through a lot of procedures and spend a lot of time at the hospital. I spent a lot of time helping her with it. While I don't mind helping her, when she did get diagnosed, my mom expected me to drop everything literally to be there to help her. This means that if she's at the hospital, I will be at the hospital. If she's undergoing surgery or a stressful procedure, I have to stop everything I'm doing, including school, and sit in the waiting room as support. But it was all that I could handle, and it was annoying, but whatever. However, the doctors recently decided they wanted to do chemo, and my sister's hairs began to fall out. She shaved it, but was extremely upset because she loved her hair. The other day, my mom suggested that I shave my own hair so a wig can be made out of it for her. For reference, my hair goes down below my butt. However, the thing is, you're only supposed to cut your hair when a family member dies, and it's a tradition my entire family, dad's side, upholds. And to be frank, I like my hair and have no desire to shave it, as I've been growing it since I was a kid. I explained this to both my sister and my mom, but both are insistent that I should do it and that a tradition like that is meaningless, especially since my sister might die anyway. I told them no. They've both asked several times more, and my sister even begged. I once again reiterated why I wouldn't, and that asking me to was insulting. Now my sister's upset and saying that I obviously don't care that she's struggling and that I don't understand. However, I've bent over backward for her, so the fact that she's going so far hurts. But she's also never asked me about anything like this before and is really upset. So I just don't know. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Your sister insisting your hair is the only hair on earth that she can get a wig from is ridiculous, and your mother is enabling her. Do not let them bully you, OP, and stop missing school for your sister. Your mom and sister are asking too much. Anytime someone asks you to sacrifice something to prove your love, this is a step too far. A decision to sacrifice anything should come originally from your heart, not their lips. It's so weird that the mother's taking a kid out of school to insist she or he goes through such a difficult process, which is already traumatic in itself, but should be a grown-up job. She should have been protecting OP from all the pain surrounding cancer. She's still a minor. Is there a reason why OP's mother can't donate her hair? I think this is a form of abuse, and OP should think about alternative living arrangements. The American Cancer Society has a free wig bank. Being voluntold to cut off what OP sees as her identity right now is asking too much. It sounds like your sister was initially not focused, correct me if I'm wrong, and your mom has been in your sister's ear, perhaps as revenge for you staying with your dad. In my opinion, no loving parent would ever put this kind of pressure on their kid. This feels like your mom's trying to pit you against your sister, which no loving parent would do. It also seems as if they're using the situation to force a wedge between OP and her paternal culture, circuitously hurting the father and his side. It's a reach, but that popped into my head. OP, please don't allow anyone to bully you. Hold your ground. This is your beautiful hair. You get to choose. I'm sorry for your sister and your mom. However, this is not acceptable. If you feel uneasy, perhaps some calls to your dad might be in order to gain his perspective and solidify your decision. Here's wishing you all the best. Sleep with your bedroom door locked, though. My sister, 36, and her husband have a tween kid, who, for the purposes of this post, is called Jimothy, whom my husband and I sometimes babysit on the weekends and take to school on some days. About a year ago, we started to notice that Jimothy was beginning to develop an American accent. We're Australian. Small kids have phases, and so I didn't want to make it a thing. The accent got thicker over the next few months, and Jimothy became more irritable. My husband and I brought this up with my sister, who said Jimothy wasn't very grumpy when with her. He then started losing interest in almost all activities that he used to enjoy. Again, this was a concern for me. Every weekend it got worse. He would complain of being bored, but when we offered him an exhaustive list of all the things we could do with him, he said no to every single one. The school year for 2024 started, and on the weekends after that, Jimothy told us that his teacher and a few classmates asked him how long he'd been in the U.S. before moving to Australia. At this point, his American accent was indistinguishable from a general American's. My husband and I were really wondering what was happening. Then, it was Jimothy's birthday party. His family was invited, including me, and so were all his friends. This was the moment that made me realize to some extent what was going on. He was on an iPad, scrolling through some kind of short film content that I didn't recognize. His friends wanted to play with him, but he didn't notice that they were there. People were giving him presents, and he acted like he was inconvenienced by having to turn the iPad off. Never before had my nieces and nephews reacted like this upon me, giving them money and delicious treats. I told my sister that something was going on and that Jimothy was obviously not in a good way. She seemed very offended that I was questioning her parenting choices, as she put it, and she decided that my husband and I, babysitting Jimothy, had to stop. The next time I saw Jimothy was very recently at my niece's birthday party, different parents. Jimothy was utterly glued to the iPad. He was noticeably skinnier, which I suspect was because he was forgetting to eat in favor of iPad time. And when anyone went over to talk to him, he almost instinctively pushed the screen towards his body so nobody could see. I had to talk to my sister and her husband. I told them what I thought a year ago. Jimothy was an energetic child who got along really well with everyone, and now he's reclusive, and it's obvious just from looking at him that he's skipping meals. My sister denied any changes in Jimothy's behavior, but her husband did admit that I was right to some extent, and Jimothy's friends had stopped trying to hang out with him because he said no 100% of the time. I told my sister she was wrecking Jimothy's life by continuing to let this iPad stuff happen. She started shouting at me and I walked out of the party. Not the idiot. The kid is obviously deteriorating. I wouldn't be surprised for him to grow up with depression and anxiety when dealing with social interactions at school and at work. It's good that you and your husband care about Jimothy. At the end of the day, you try to help by letting them handle the upcoming issues that will surely arise in the future. However, the accent is actually a weird thing to point out. It's not really an issue here. I don't think OP's problem is that the accent is American. It's that he spends so much time watching things that his entire accent is from another country. It shows that what he's watching impacts his development more than his family, teachers, and friends. Also, it clearly is part of a bigger problem, as now other people are starting to notice this issue. OP just picked up on the early warning signs. His immersing himself in his iPad isn't the cause, it's the consequence. It's the tip of the iceberg. My kids love their screens, but they also want to play board games, go cycling in the forest nearby, or jump in the pool. There's something else. There's something that causes this kid to focus solely on his iPad. You were right to have concerns. If you're truly concerned and your sister keeps a blind eye to the situation, you may want to call the social service. It will hurt your relationship with your family, but it is better than letting this kid continue to suffer, because he is suffering. I'm surprised that more people aren't seeing this. Such a drastic change over a year is very, very concerning. I, 22 male, was born deaf and was never a candidate for hearing aids. I was taught ASL, and my mom and others in my family learned ASL too. This is the only way I could ever speak or be spoken to. I don't lip read or anything like that. My dad wasn't in my life ever, and when I was 9, my mom started dating Tom. Tom had a tween son, Cole, at the time. It was pretty clear from the start that Cole was unenthusiastic about us and had no interest in learning ASL to speak to me. Tom and Mom decided we should all take family ASL classes and learn together in a fun environment, which the classes they found were. Cole had to be dragged and he didn't take part willingly or eagerly. If anything, he'd intentionally do things wrong and make himself do worse than he would have naturally, so he was asked less. He did eventually take them seriously. My mom believed it was because he had really bonded with me, and now gave a crap about communicating with me. But that wasn't it. He had a new kid in school he wanted to talk to who was also deaf. The new guy was his motivation for learning. Cole and I never talked enough for him to be motivated to learn, and he made lots of mistakes when talking to me, but I noticed his ASL was perfect with his friend. It always felt weird living with someone who didn't want me around. My mom and Tom believed we'd blend eventually. I think there was some fight when Cole turned 17, and my mom and Tom wanted to go away for a weekend. I remember everyone looked so tense one morning, and I was told I'd be going to stay with my grandparents for the weekend, since it wasn't a great idea to leave me home alone when I couldn't hear if something was wrong. I assumed they wanted Cole to keep an eye on me and make sure I was okay, and he then let them know he didn't care what happened to me. Cole and I haven't seen each other much since he moved out. My mom has asked a few times if we've met up or whatever, and I'm always honest and say no. She finally asked me 2 or 3 weeks ago if things were good between Cole and me. I told her surely. She picked up on the fact he never wanted me around and wasn't interested in it being good between him and me. She said she believed that it changed once we got closer, and she brought up how he took ASL more seriously. I told her it was clearly for his friend, not me. She was clearly shocked, but I brought it up again over the weekend, and she told me she thought I was very naive to think Cole didn't learn ASL for both, and that his resistance at first didn't mean he didn't grow to love me. I told her she was the naive one to expect him to magically change out of nowhere. I told her it was fine if she wanted to marry Tom that badly, but she should accept it wasn't so perfect for me, and her claim that I'm naive about Cole shows how much she wants to overlook. Mom was not cool with what I said to her. She told me I didn't need to hurt her feelings. Am I the idiot? I cannot stand wishful thinking by parents who refuse to accept the evidence right in front of their eyes, never mind the direct words of their children. You told her the truth. It's her problem if her feelings are hurt. That's just her deflecting her guilt about the situation back onto you. It's sad how so many parents think that when they remarry, the kids from both partners are going to magically become best friends and act like most brothers and sisters. My mom has so far been married 4 times, and there's former stepbrothers and sisters I can't even remember their names, let alone be friends with. Live your life and let your mom think whatever she needs to so she can feel better about her decisions. This couldn't have been news to her. I'm sure she saw how you two interacted and had a general idea of how he felt about you. She just decided to ignore it. Not the idiot. And if the truth hurts her feelings, that's because she messed up, not because you told her. My husband and I have been married for 2 years. About 6 months ago, a one-night stand of his called and told him about their son. After a DNA test, my husband is confirmed as the father. The kid is a kindergartner, and we've been together for 4 years, so it's not like he cheated. He agreed to meet his son, and they've hit it off well. They've been spending a lot of time together, and the mother's happy to let her son connect with his dad. But the problem is we both agreed to a child-free life. Neither of us wanted kids. He even got a vasectomy, and I got my tubes tied. We had a talk about this, and he says it's his responsibility to take care of his kid. And he says that he hopes I can support him. But I don't want a stepmom's life. This may be cruel of me, but I can't stand children. My husband knew this about me. I don't dare force my husband to choose me or his kid, but this is the life I agreed to. I haven't told my husband yet, but I'm already talking to a lawyer. I don't know. I just don't know what to do here. Am I the idiot for divorcing my husband because he wants his son in his life? No idiots here. He's doing the right thing for his child, which is his due. You need to do what is right for you. Not wanting children and/or leaving due to this upset does not make you a bad person at all. He could get mad at you, I don't know, but if he does, his reaction doesn't define you either. It sounds to me like you're doing everything right. Now you just have to tell him. I don't envy you that. Yeah, one of the few stories I can actually go with, no idiots here. It's his kid. He did not cheat and had the kid technically before meeting OP. And when he made the promise of being child-free, he meant it and acted accordingly. As it stands now, no choice. Circumstances have changed by no other reason than they changed. No malicious intent. Parties should walk away amicably and wish each other well. I didn't agree to a wife with cancer either. Doesn't mean I should up and leave when she gets cancer. The number of comments that keep saying, "This is not what you signed up for," is disgusting. If your spouse or significant other is going through a life or health crisis, you're just going to bail and leave them to fend for themselves? You are the idiot. You married him because you love him, not because you both don't want children. My family and I have moved to a different state. It's been a hard move, especially for my oldest daughter, Caddy. She's in middle school. The area school district has a Facebook account that parents are a part of. I introduced myself there a while ago. We put Caddy on the cross-country team, and she's been making friends over the summer. I got a message from a parent last week asking to meet up and let the kids meet. They would be in the same grade, and I thought it would be a good opportunity. We went to the local pool. I met Melanie, who wouldn't make eye contact, was very soft-spoken, and didn't seem to be paying attention overall. The kids were playing while I talked to the mom. She's always been in the area and was excited her kid was getting a friend. Caddy approached me asking to leave since she wasn't feeling well. We left early and in the car, she admitted to just wanting to get away from Melanie. She explained that Melanie freaked her out. She was very touchy, kept pushing her in the water, was whispering, saying things under her breath, would stare at people and make comments, comparing people to bugs. I'm still confused about what that means. Caddy told me she was uncomfortable and didn't want to hang out with her again. The parent messaged me and asked when we could do it again. I told her that the girls didn't mesh well and that we'd have to decline. She then called me asking what I meant. I told her that Caddy wasn't interested in hanging out since they don't mesh. I was trying to be polite about it. This went on for a little while, and she told me that the kids needed to be around each other more. I told her no. It went on for a while, and she asked to talk to my husband, which is when I snapped. I told her no, and that I was trying to be polite, but your kid is weird. Melanie makes my kid uncomfortable, and I don't know what the heck is up with her, but we will not have another play date. She went on Facebook and is going around saying how the new family are jerks. It seems to not be going anywhere, but I'm wondering if I was the idiot. She asked to speak to your husband, as in she thought that was the social equivalent of asking for the manager. Let me speak to the person in charge of you, basically. Nope, absolutely not. Not the idiot. My guess is that there's a reason why her daughter evidently doesn't have any friends, and some of it originates with the mother. Everyone's the idiot. Yes, this mom was entirely too pushy. I highly suspect that the kid is neurodivergent in some way and struggles to make friends. But as a mom to a special needs kid, you don't just spring this crap on someone. If you're not used to certain mannerisms, you're going to be uncomfortable, especially if you're a kid. This was just not the way for this mom to go about this stuff. That said, I wish you had just said that she makes your kid uncomfortable and not said she was straight up weird. We're still talking about a child, and calling people names isn't cool. I agree, there were better ways to handle it. One being, have to look at my calendar, or other such things. Nicely decline the next time. Chances are the mother would have gotten bored or tired of you not responding. Calling a child names? That's not the answer. For that, you are the idiot.